Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is another episode of the Talkin Ish podcast. My name is Chris Heller. I am your host, and I am currently wearing a jockstrap. Why, you ask? Stay tuned. We'll get back to that in 1 second. What are we doing here today? It's a Podpourri, which I like to do once in a while. An assortment of luxury items coming your way that smell delicious. First, we'll attack the jockstrap situation and why that's going on. A couple wellness practices that I'm just starting. NBA season, which just kicked off last night or 2 nights ago. MTV's The Challenge for a minute, and then a little fantasy football specifically regarding your free agent budget and is it smart to be holding it at this point. Getting back to, I know what's on your mind now, what undergarments are on me currently. So I had a vasectomy last week on Friday, so it's a little less than a week now, and the suggested care garment is a jockstrap to keep things contained as much as possible. So let me tell you a little bit about the this procedure as a whole. One thing that when I decided that I was going to go through with this and kind of put it out there to the world a little bit, I found out that I was surprised to find out that a large number of people that I know have already done this. I guess it's something that you don't really talk about unless you have a podcast and like to share your thoughts with the world, like some people. So I found out that a lot of other people have done it, which obviously was good to know because you get a lot of feedback from people you have a relationship with and trust, and you get to know what the deal is. And going in, I knew that it wasn't that big of a deal. I would say 1 or 2 people were like, I don't know about this whole thing. It wasn't great. I was sore for months afterwards. Most people were like, it's pretty seamless. You're kind of back on your feet in a week or 2, a little sore, whatever, but not that big of a deal. So wasn't that concerned about what this whole thing was going to entail going into it. Just some backstory. So leading up to it, you have to go in for a consult. I went for mine in April, a long time ago. And it's basically like they tell you what's going to happen in the procedure. They tell you what the care afterwards is going to be, and they kind of check you out to make sure that you're all good to cut into. So once you get that initial consultation, you have to wait at least 30 days until you can have the operation. However, you have to do it within 6 months, or you have to get another consultation and then start the process over again, wait another 30 days. Now, I had originally done it in April, and I was, I think, scheduled for June something. There are only a couple days a week that the doctor that I wanted to see, who I thought was awesome when I met him, and ended up being even just as awesome when we actually had this done on Friday. I had to reschedule for a couple different times over these 6 months. And first, I don't remember exactly why, but there aren't that many days that the doctor actually does it. So your pickings are slim. It was through NYU Langone, and I can't tell you how bad the front office there was dealing with. Every single time I called, no one called back. They passed me around. No one had the right info. Everyone was super nice, so that made it a lot harder to be pissed. But no one calls me back. This one's away, and then a week or 2 go past. So the dates that this guy is doing the procedure fill up. So a couple times I called and said, "Hey, I want to reschedule from here to here." Oh, that's taken. Oh, it's summertime now, so he's only doing it once every 3rd week. Or I was going away on a big trip to Africa this summer, so I didn't want to risk anything there, so I pushed it after that. Then it was my nephew's bar mitzvah, so I pushed it. I didn't want to not be in shape to dance and carry my kids and do whatever I needed to do there, so I pushed it again. Now at some point in this process, talking to these 50 different people every time I called, I learned about this 6-month rule, that you had to have it done within 6 months of your consultation. So the last time I made a reschedule, which was September 21st, changing it to last Friday, October 12th, I said to the person before I made the change, "Are you sure that October 12th falls within the 6-month frame because I knew it was getting close because somebody had told me I was like pushing it with September 21st. They said, yes, actually, it's your last day. You can do it. I said, are you sure? They said, yes. And this place was such a shit show that two things. I decided, I was like, I'm going to tell the doctor about it. I'll wait till after the procedure so he's not in any other mind state besides focusing on nothing but my package for the time being that I'm with him. And second, I like joked with my wife the leading up to last Friday. This place is such a shit show that 50-50 chance I walk in the door and they're like, who are you? I've never heard of you before. So, my appointment was 4 o'clock last Friday. At around 2:15 or so, I get a call from the office. Hey, I'm so sorry, but we're just, the assistant was checking the records and you are 6 days past your 6-month allotted time. So we can't do the procedure today. But you can still come in and get your consult and then it'll be 30 days later. But your doctor is leaving. He's going to Columbia Presbyterian in January and he might not be able to do it. And just big time record scratch. And I knew it. Like I just knew something like this was going to happen. I said, are you fucking kidding me? I specifically asked about this date. She's like, oh, let me double check. I'll do the math myself, but I'm sure you got it right. She called me back 10 minutes later. Yep, still sorry. Can't do anything. I said, I want to speak to the doctor. Have him call me. So now it's an hour before I'm supposed to be on the table. And I'm still home thinking I'm enraged right now. And it takes a lot for me to get to this type of level, right? I'm usually pretty easygoing, laid back dude. So for me to be pissed, I was like next level ready to like punch something. We had bought, tons of crap for me to eat. We had, plans for the 2 kids for the next day. So they were like out of the house so they wouldn't jump on me. We had grandma coming on Sunday to hang out with the kids to keep them away from me. Like we were fully set for this to happen now, and now it wasn't happening, right? And like all my friends knew. I had so many people wishing me good luck and like the whole deal, right? I even posted something on Instagram about it, so even people that I'm not in regular contact with were aware that this was going down. And now it wasn't. So the doctor calls, and like I said, I liked him a lot the one time I met him. And I explained to him, first off, saying what a shit show his front office was. And I'm very, very measured and calm. I don't, fly off the hinges and start going into some insane rant right off the bat and make him defensive. But just tell him how ridiculous this whole process was with getting in touch with people, and told him that I have 2 little kids and childcare and whatever, and just give him the facts essentially, and how pissed I am, and that like I had decided that if this didn't happen, I am not using this NYU and this doctor at all. Like I'm calling my doctor and getting another recommendation and going that route. Anyhow, after hearing me out, he's like, you know what? Just come in today, we'll figure it out type of thing. I was like, are you sure? So you think I should come right now, leave, and we're going to do this today? And he said, yeah, I won't tell you exactly to protect the parties involved. I won't tell you exactly what went down, but long story short, it happened. So talk about the emotional roller coaster here, right? Like I'm ready, I'm all prepped, and then all of a sudden just a massive punch to the gut where I'm just like totally dejected. And then this savior comes in and says, you know what, let's go do it. And like I said, on the way, now I'm driving into the city, ready to do it. I'm like, now it totally changes my mindset, because now I'm like, fuck yeah, we're doing this today. Where, the day before or the morning of, I had that little bit of apprehension, like, this is, I don't know about this whole thing. Never like nervous about the actual procedure, but just on paper, when you think about what it actually is, you're like, this I don't know. This whole idea, this whole concept seems a little foreign. Anyway, this changed the mindset. Now I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this shit. So we get to the hospital. I get in the room, and my wife is not allowed to stay in the room with me, which we were shocked. We were going to have her live stream the whole thing from the doctor's point of view. We thought that would be a big hit on YouTube, and that wasn't allowed. So they take me into the exam room. It's the assistant and me first. He's cleaning me up, giving me a little shave. And they're not going to put you out. They don't put you out for this procedure, so it's just going to be some local anesthetic, and they don't do that yet. He's just like cleaning me, shaving, and I'm like sitting there texting. I have headphones if I want to listen to podcasts, Wu-Tang, whatever. And then the doctor comes in, and once he starts, he said it's going to take less than a half hour, maybe even 20 minutes. The shots to numb the area, 2 on each side, really hurt. Well, one of them really hurt, the first one, and then the next one was more like a little bee sting, which didn't feel pleasant, but whatever. So that was like a couple minutes of pain on each side, and then after a few minutes you're just completely numb. So he goes to work, and I'm, like I said, just on my phone taking pictures. I had my headphones in, listening to some Wu-Tang stuff just to get me through the moment. But you don't feel a thing, so it's just going on. He's just in there doing his stuff, and like he said in advance, you might hear a sizzle or see some smoke. And I was like, "Whoa, dude, what are you talking about?" I knew nothing about sizzle or smoke. You conveniently left that out in the description of this adventure here, and I didn't see either of those things or hear it. One of the reasons I put my headphones on. But it did smell like a fire, sort of, like something was burning, which, again, I don't need to know. And he did it, and it was cool. And I liked the doctor. I laid my my vasectomy joke on him, which he loved. And he's the judge and jury on this type of thing. So while he was in there doing his thing, I said, "Hey, Doc, you know what the best show to binge is after a vasectomy?" He's like, "No, man, what is it?" Deadwood. He loved it. He told, when the guy came in, when the assistant came back, he told it to him. He was cracking up as he said it. So 1 point there. One other thing about my doctor. So he was telling me how he's leaving. He's going to Colombia in January, and I was out just bullshitting with him. He has 3 kids, and he said, before I leave, I'm going to do this procedure to myself. I was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You're just going to lie here like I am, except you're going to sit up and you're going to actually like do it?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll just like kind of sit off the side of the table and do it. I'll have somebody maybe outside in case I don't know, crash to the floor for any reason, but I'll do it myself." I'm like, there's like no one else in this hospital or on this floor or in this division that you would be like, "Hey, dude, let's hook me up here." He said, besides him, he's like, there's only one other doctor in the city that I would really trust to do this. Which blew my mind, actually, because I'm sure everyone that I know who's had it done didn't use one of these 2 doctors. But he's like, and I go to conferences with this guy, and he said he would do it, but like, I don't want him having like one up on me type of thing. I'm like, yo, you can have one up on everybody if you do this yourself. That would be a incredible, badass maneuver. So that was that. He did it. It was about 10 minutes on each nut. I have 2 incisions, one on the sides of each. Some other people do it 1 incision from the bottom. So then it became to recovery and back to the jock strap. So since Friday, I've been wearing a jock strap. Over the weekend, I took some Percocet here and there. And other than that, like, it's a little sore. It's like you got kicked in that area, and like the pain is just like always sort of there. At least the first few days. Today it's better than yesterday, and yesterday better than the day before, but like still a little bruising, still a little soreness, still wearing the jockstrap situation, still putting some Neosporin on the cuts. And that's that, man. I think it's otherwise pretty good. The thing is, like, I have to go back next Friday, so 2 weeks to the day, for a checkup to make sure everything's good, and on that's when you get the go-ahead for strenuous exercise, which I can't do any of right now, sex, masturbation, none of that is allowed in the first 2 weeks. So you got to kind of keep everything tame. I started lifting the boys last night a little bit. It's not ideal, but it's not that bad, I don't think. And so it sucks that I can't really exercise. He said I could go swimming when I feel okay, so I'm hoping that on Monday I can get back in the pool and start doing some swimming, but no real strenuous stuff or heavy lifting of weights or anything like that until I get the clearance. Then once you get the clearance, then you have to, it's almost like a race to unload all the leftover boys that you might have swimming around down there. So you have to, I don't know the exact number, you have to release like 25 times or something like that until you go back and get checked out, so he can again clear you that you've got nothing left in the chamber officially. So that's the experience. I already recommend it. I assume 6 months from now and 5 years from now and in the future I will recommend it even more, because the outcome will certainly be worth this barely or minimal pain and heartache for a week or two. So that's my take on this manhood procedure that I'd probably, if you asked me when I was my 20-year-old self if this would be a thing that I did later on in life, I don't know. Probably didn't see it in my future, but it just makes a lot of sense. Moving on quickly. We're going to move fast now with these other topics. Just off the top of my head, what's going on here. Two wellness practices that I don't have reports on yet, but I started 2 new things this week on Monday. And weird timing with the recovery, but hey, it's never a good time for anything, so you just got to start moving. One is intermittent fasting. It's always been on my short list of like one of those things that I have to try. And I actually went to see a nutritionist last week or 2 weeks ago, sometime recently, when I found out that nutritionists are sometimes covered by insurance. I checked it out. They were, so I said, hey, I like trying new stuff. Maybe I talk to a pro and see if they recommend anything specifically. So they said, what do you think about intermittent fasting? I said, great. It has been something that I want to try. If this is the push that I need to do it, so be it. So as of this Monday, I only eat in between the hours of 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. That's it, 9-hour window, and I'm fasting the rest of the time. If you've listened to this podcast before or any of my other stuff, Today, my daily audio log, or on my YouTube channel, I have talked about fasting a number of times before, because I've done the fasting mimicking diet, the FMD. Long story short, I believe in the science behind fasting, that it's just good for you and you're at the cellular level. However, the intermittent fasting is also very good just at the weight loss level. So I'm trying it out. My body is a little messed up because I'm doing this now I have a totally new circadian rhythm with my eating habits, also coming off a week with some Percocet, plus the soreness. It's just kind of odd. It's getting better every day, and I assume that by next week, not eating till 11 a.m. is probably not going to be that big of a deal. And so far, so good. Well, like I said, I will definitely have updates on this and the next thing I'm going to talk about in the coming months when I've had a greater sample set to really point towards. The second thing is this new toy that I bought called the Oura Ring, Oura. I think the URL is auraring.com. For those of you watching on video, it's right here on my middle finger. There you go. And essentially, it is a computer, right? It's got little chips on the inside that connects to an app on my phone. And what it's doing, and again, this is brand new for me, so I probably am not fully knowledgeable as of yet of what it really does. But basically, it measures your sleep, it measures your activity, and gives you pointers and lets you know if you're doing shit right? So it's just monitoring your activity, telling you your resting heart rate when you're sleeping, when you're awake. If today is a good day to really go for it, meaning like, should today be your hard workout? Yes, because you got a great night's sleep and because yesterday you did this many steps or whatever it may be. It's It's a cool little toy that I'm excited about because I think sleep is super important. I think I want to try to optimize as well as possible in every facet of my post 40 lifestyle. So, Oura Ring, again, something that after a month or two playing with it, I will certainly report back with some more findings. The NBA season, moving on, started Tuesday night with a doubleheader. Last night was the first main slate, and a couple things on my mind heading into NBA 2018-2019 season, which came fast, started a little earlier than usual. Normally we get going around Halloween. I like the moving up of the schedule. It gets rid of the 4 games in 5 nights, the back-to-back-to-back road swings, which are just, produce a whack product. So I like the, progressive nature of Silver and crew for moving this up a couple weeks. So here we are, mid-October, and we're already off to the races. And I have to start where I always start personally, but where everyone starts this year, and that's the Lakers. They are the story. When you pair arguably the greatest franchise in all of sport, yeah, I said it, with arguably the greatest athlete ever. I'm not saying I believe that to be true, but he's going to be on that short list when you're talking about that argument one day. When you pair these two, the biggest star in the sporting world today, we can at least all agree on that, with the marquee franchise, that's what's going to be the top story, guys. And it just so happens that it happens to be my team, my squad, above all others of any sport. If you know me, you know that the Lakers are synonymous with my history. Magic, Kobe are my guys. LeBron will never be one of those. That's for sure. But what do we have to think about the Lakers this year heading into the season as they tip off tonight in Portland, 10:30? Conventional wisdom or a common, thought is that year one is kind of a throwaway for LeBron. He signed a 4-year deal here, and that, help is on the way in year 2, year 3, year 2 and year 3, and that you need these, 2 running mates to go next to LeBron, these 2 stars to accompany him on this quest for a championship in LA. My thought is that this team is really good right now. And maybe, just maybe, his 2 sidekicks are already on the roster in the form of Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball. Ingram, I think, this year turns into an all-star level player. I don't know if he makes the all-star team because, brand equity of his name with the people that he's competing against in the West is going to be tough. But the kid clearly has all the tools to be a real star in this league. And on this trajectory that he's on, I think he ultimately is a number 2 or number 3 on an incredible team, but a 2 or a 3 type of guy next to that alpha dog on a championship roster, whether that's this year or in 3 years. I think that's the type of player that Brandon Ingram emerges into. And I think the potential for that to happen is now. It could happen year 3. Why not? Lonzo, only 20 years old, first year, little injury, little dad drama, little family drama, just being the new guy and under the spotlight as a 19-year-old rookie can get to people. However, he still put up, numbers that we've only seen from guys like LeBron and Jason Kidd in terms of across-the-board points, rebounds, assists in your rookie season. And I see no reason to think any differently than I did about Lonzo Ball a year ago, which is I think he's Jason Kidd 2.0. And I think he's a star in this league. Does that happen now as a 20-year-old playing next to LeBron and also Brandon Ingram and also all their veteran players that they have on this roster? Maybe not. But I see no reason to think that Lonzo can't be what we all thought he was going to be when he was taken number 2 and when he was in UCLA doing his thing. So where does that leave this team? If these guys blossom this year, could LeBron already have his, 2 and 3 right there? It's possible. And what the Lakers certainly do have with LeBron, which he's really never had before, is just young legs all across the board. Lonzo is 20. Josh Hart is 23. Ingram's 21. Kuzma is 23. Svi and Mo, these two long shooters, tall guys who can spread the floor from the 4 and the 5 spot and shoot the 3, are both 21. Even Zubac, 21. So you have a lot of fresh legs to run up and down the court and just kind of potentially outscore people. The thing that I think is the challenge here is Luke Walton's job, because this roster that they assembled, bringing in guys like Rondo and Lance Stevenson, Beasley, JaVale McGee, matching these or monitoring and dealing with these different personalities, the youth and the old and the vets, is going to be a challenge, and I'm sure there's going to be some heartache with that along the way. You hope that with a leader like LeBron, things can kind of fall into place. I hope that we get the chance to see the young guys really shine here and step up, and the older vets don't take more minutes than they should. I think these vets should be kind of in the background until playoff time, and then you find roles for them. Come in for 10 minutes, Lance, and be annoying and play defense, hit a couple threes, right? Rondo's the tough one, because Rondo is, obviously, we've seen super headstrong, smart, and he probably thinks that he should and can play. And we saw last year that he's right. On the nights that he wants to play, he can certainly play. He was a huge asset for the Pelicans last year. So I think that is the challenge, but I'm excited. I'm excited about this team. I think that it is not out of line or crazy, and I don't think I'm being an insane Laker homer here by saying I think them versus, like, getting to the Western Conference Finals to face the Warriors is very much in play. And I don't even think you need a trade at the February deadline with another star this year to make that happen. What happens next year? Kawhi, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, Damian Lillard, all in play, sure. Are we going to definitely need that? I don't know. Probably one of those guys come aboard, and that's when you take this to the real next level. But I'm just saying I kind of like the things as they are now, and that's not a bad place to be. If you look back to last year and probably the last couple of years in the NBA, before the season started, it was usually, all right, this is all just a lead-in to Cavs Warriors once again. We all thought that last year until the playoffs actually got started. Then you thought, all right, the Celtics can come through here. The Rockets have a real chance. Sure enough, it ended the way we all thought it would. And I think that's how it is again this year, except obviously it's not the Cavs. It's the Celtics. I think it's hard from today to envision any other finals matchup than Warriors-Celtics this year. You can make your case, and hey, maybe some trades will happen, maybe some injuries will happen, but those teams are just so good, so deep, well coached, star power. They have everything, and there's just not any real hardcore challengers. I think Houston took a step back a little bit, and in the East, LeBron's gone, so Kawhi and the Raptors, probably your best bet. So if it's not Warriors Celtics in the finals in June, I think something pretty weird happened here. Last year, for the first time in a while, actually, it became super clear who the top 5 players in the league were. LeBron, Durant, Curry, Harden, and Anthony Davis. There was not really much argument against those 5 last year because Kawhi was hurt. 2 years ago, you probably would have said Kawhi was in the top 5. And most years, I think you'd probably say, hey, there are 8 guys in the top 5, so how do you really make this 5? So what I'm thinking is, out of those 5, LeBron, Durant, Curry, Harden, Davis, who's out and who's in? The 2 obvious guys to move into that bunch right now, Kawhi coming back strong at 100%, and Giannis taking that next step forward. Coming off of a 27-10-5 type of year, if he takes that up a notch with a with some new talent around him, improved talent, improved coaching. He was in a shitty situation last year. What is the ceiling of this guy? Tough to say. I mean, I can't wait to see it, but one of those two could break up this top five, and if so, who falls out? I don't have the answer. I'm just posing that out there to you because this league is just flooded with talent at the top, all-time historic talent, and I don't know how you kind of put this in order if everyone is playing up at their, top level. Obviously, things will happen. There will be injuries. There'll be storylines and whatever that will probably make something fall into place, but it just seems hard to break up this top five right now. But it also seems hard to exclude Kawhi and Giannis from that top five. One last thing on the NBA season, my consumption. So since Kobe left the league, I have not been as invested in having to see many Laker games, right? It's coincided with the birth of my two kids where I can kind of lay back and watch the important ones, and there haven't been that many important ones for my franchise. So now that LeBron is in town, every game is must-see TV. How do I navigate this with a 10:30 tip time on most nights playing on the West Coast? Because staying up till 1:30 in the morning is no longer a regular feasible habit for me. So I am getting this NBA app, this League Pass app, which allows me to watch the condensed version replays of the game. So the way I envision this working out is I'm going to be able to see the day after 30-minute sped up where there's no timeouts, there's no foul shots, there's no breaks. It's just back, possession, and watch the games that way. How will that work? I don't know. Will I stick with it? I don't know. But that's what I have to at least attempt going into this season, where staying up is not an option. Missing these games with LeBron, again, not an option. Moving on. Do you guys watch MTV's The Challenge? One of my guilty pleasures, one of the best shows on TV. Well, I don't know if the best shows on TV. One of the most entertaining still for me. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that always stuck. If you're watching this year, you'll care about these next 2 minutes. If not, you can just skip ahead. I won't spend too much time. But this year, the format, there are two things that are major bullshit that I have a big problem with. One being, however they made these pairings. Just not fair. To put Bananas and Tony together, Brad and Kyle, and then have like CT with Veronica. It's just not fair. When there's $1 million on the table, the biggest prize of all time, and to have this clear disparity and clear unfairness team by team just seems egregious. Second bullshit thing is teams like namely Corey and Derek now, when you look at it, and Ashley and Hunter even, coming in the middle of the game. Corey and Derek coming in like with not that much time left before the final, and they're a strong team. It just doesn't seem, and it's another way that this is just unfair. And when you're playing for $1 million, like if I'm CT or Zach, I'm like really pissed at the way that this unfolded, knowing that one of your peers or friends or enemies or someone is going to win $500,000, $1 million, however it's going to unfold, in a way that like you should have had at least a better shot. It should be fair. This game, it is a game. It should at least be fair from the get-go to have everyone have some type of real chance at a pot this big. One other thing that's going on right now, Bananas is outnumbered in the house, right? So this other crew has the voting power, let's say. The thing that nobody mentions and everyone fails to mention is the team that's thrown into the, whatever it's called, the gauntlet, the Armageddon, I think it's called this time. They get to pick their opponent. So this group of 4 teams are like, hey, we can't wait to throw Bananas in. Guess what? They're going to go in and they're going to pick the weakest one of you, and they're going to beat you, and they're going to come back and they're going to do it again. So you're not in that sweet of a spot here. And the thing that I'm really looking forward to is this, at the end, the chance to double-cross your partner. All of us fans remember the great historic move of Johnny Bananas and Sarah 3 years ago or so, where Johnny just took all the money. He had that shot at the end, and I think that's going to be in play here this time as well, where you can say F off to your partner and potentially walk away as the first $1 million winner in this illustrious franchise's history. And we're going to finish up with some fantasy football talk, specifically in regards to your free agent bidding budget. Now, if you play with straight waiver wire and not a blind bid, then you should just hang up right now. That's a weak way to play. This is only for real players. So what we're talking about here is blind bidding. You get an allotment at the beginning of each season, 1,000 fake dollars, let's say, 100 fake dollars, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And throughout the year, every week, you bid on free agents, and the highest bid gets the free agent. Thinking about this as we're heading into week 7, one of my teams, I have a lot of money left, right? I haven't done much bidding, and I sat the other day and said, what am I saving my money for, right? Like, that made me think about looking at the league landscape and saying, who are the league winners potentially that are still out there, all right? And when you're talking about league winners mid-year, it's only running backs, really. It's very rare that you would get a wide receiver or a tight end or even a quarterback jump into the fray off of the waiver wire and become a star. Running backs, we see it almost every year. If you're in a good league, the way that the league is set up right now, the NFL, many teams are using a 2-back system. So in fantasy, most quality fantasy leagues are rostering both of those guys. For example, Melvin Gordon, Eckler. If Gordon went down, Eckler would be a top 10 guy, but he's not going to be a league winner that you can get on the waiver wire because in any decent league, he's already rostered. Hyde and Chubb, Deion Henry, Tevin and Ito, now that Devonta's out. Right? There are plenty of those all across the league where an injury to a top guy makes the other guy a league winner for sure. A lot of league winners out there, not out there on the free agent wire. So that's what I've been thinking about. Where are the places that, and how many opportunities are there really where you're going to be like, oh shit, this guy's available now, heading into this situation, I had to spend all my money. So here you go. Here's what I came up with. The best one that I see, and this is a sneaky one, it's the Steelers. Now, a couple things have to happen, but these, don't seem realistic. Obviously, you need the injury, right? You need a reason that James Conner is not going to be the guy. So, James Conner, injury, and the wild card here is obviously Le'Veon Bell. If Le'Veon Bell does not show up, does not play this season, James Conner goes down with an injury, Stephen Ridley becomes the top guy, the lone guy. Maybe you get some Jalen Samuels, the rookie. Maybe he gets some work out of in the backfield. But I think Ridley becomes the dude on a high-powered offense that likes to feature the back. So that is a situation that is somewhat plausible where you would say, I'm going all in. The Cardinals. If David Johnson goes down, Chase Edmonds, probably not rostered in your league. The problem here, obviously, is this Cardinals offense is not something that you're excited to get a piece of. However, if you have a feature back with talent, that's somebody you're going to spend for. And Chase Edmonds, I believe, even on this offense, would be startable. A low-end RB2 or a flex play, for sure. He would, he's not the elite talent that David Johnson is, but Chase Edmonds is one of the most heralded college running backs of all time. Like, he's got skills. Cowboys. In sharp leagues and deep leagues and a lot of leagues I play in, Rod Smith is probably rostered, but there are probably a number of leagues out there, 50% of the leagues that he's not. If Zeke were to go down, Rod Smith becomes a potential league winner. We saw it last year when Zeke was out on his suspension. Rod Smith is a real player, and that offensive line is still pretty decent. So Rod Smith would be one that would be worth a lot of money. The Rams, the issue there, right? High-powered offense, Gurley's a stud, great coordinator, a lot of points. The problem is, who's the guy? Is it John Kelly? Is it Malcolm Brown? Or do they split? So I think that's the problem you would have there. And then one last one to mention is the Niners, where McKinnon obviously out for the season. Breda is clearly on the injury report every week, not a beacon of health. So sharp players might have picked up Raheem Mostert already this week after last night's performance, or last week on Monday night's performance, where he looked shot out of a cannon with a 8 yards per carry line there. If Breda were to go down, it looks like Alf Morris is out of favor. It looks like if that happened, we could have a starting running back in a Kyle Shanahan offense, an offense that's been putting up points, actually, even with C.J. Beathard at the helm, in Raheem Mostert. So that would be a sneaky one as well, and that might be somebody you want to pick up. He might have standalone value as of this week. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking in the world of free agent bidding. And that's all I have for you in this episode of the Talkin Ish. So hope you guys had some fun here, learned some things. If you have any questions, hit me up, Chris at chrisheller.me, or Twitter, cheller32, Instagram, chrisheller.me, and you know where to find me. So, again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Talkin Ish.